Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. Today we are ranking the Championship home fans for the 21-22 season. If you've been on this channel before, you'll have seen we ranked the away fans for this season. But today, I thought we'd have a look at the home fans. So let's get into this. Just before we get into today's video, guys, if you haven't already, please make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new around here, and let's start with the first team. As you can see then, first up, we have got Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United just come down from the Premier League, and despite them not doing great so far in the Championship at the time of recording this, they're still always going to get a good crowd at home. And even in League One, I remember going to Bramall Lane and they always get a good crowd, make some really good noise. And I just like the stadium as well. So first up, Sheffield United are going straight in elite. Like I say, even when they're not having that good of a season, they'll make a good noise. And I'm excited to be going back to Bramall Lane next week when Sheffield United play Coventry. Next up, Reading FC. I will be going to this one later in the season as well, the Medeski. I'm going to put them in poor. I'm sorry, Reading fans. I look at the stadium and think, it's not that bad a stadium. You can hold a few numbers in there, but they don't exactly sell it out, do they? And I don't think Reading make much noise at home or on the road. So, sorry to Reading. I know they're a decent club or whatever, but as a fan base at home, I'm going to put them in poor. Next up, Hull City. This is a ground I went to a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was a bad time to go there to judge them, to be honest, because when I went, we obviously beat them, they weren't in great form, and they were actually kind of getting on top of the players and the manager. They were singing "Sacked in the Morning" to their manager, and I think sometimes when there's negativity at Hull City, that severely damages the crowds. We saw that before with the owners and the problems they had there. So I think as a fan base, they're not bad, but ranking home fans based on the Championship this season, I'm going to put Hull City in meh. Next up, Peterborough United, obviously just come up, and I've been to this ground before. I went to it in League One. And in League One, it wasn't a bad ground and it wasn't a bad fan base, but we're in the Championship now, and I just look at that ground and think it's a little bit old, it's a little bit small. Obviously, Peterborough aren't a massive club in this division, so they don't need a massive stadium, but I just look at the ground and the home atmosphere, and for the Championship, I'm going to say it's actually quite poor. Sorry, Peterborough. Next up is Oakwell, Barnsley. Barnsley's home fans. This is an interesting one. I've been to Oakwell plenty of times, possibly one of the most out of all of these, because we used to be in the same league in League One a few years ago, and obviously went to it this year. And despite losing, I didn't think their fans were that amazing. They obviously won the game, my team lost the game, but there wasn't really that kind of killer atmosphere that really helped them get over the line. And for that reason, I'm going to put them in meh. As a stadium, I quite like it. It's not the biggest Championship stadium, but the fans make a little bit of noise. I'm going to put them in meh. The next one, Birmingham City. Now, I've said before, their fans on the road are simply sensational. Some of the best in this league. At home, they're not bad, not as good as away though. So I'm going to put them in very good. They don't usually sell out St Andrews that often. And obviously there's been a few problems with St Andrews recently that they couldn't fully open it and things like that. But when there's a big game, they can get a lot of fans in there and they can make a lot of noise. So I'm going to put Birmingham City in very good. Next up are Blackburn Rovers. Now, this season was the first time I actually got to go to Ewood Park. And as a stadium, I thought, yeah, it's not a bad one. But I was very disappointed by the home crowd. I understand it's a home game against Coventry. I didn't expect them to sell it out like it's a big game or anything. But still, for just an average home Championship game in September, I thought to myself, this is actually quite disappointing. They didn't exactly fill any of the stands that much, and the noise wasn't that great. There was a little bit of noise in one of the corners, but I'm going to put Blackburn in meh as well. I think on the road, their fans are probably better than they are at home. Next up, we go to the Hawthorns to see West Bromwich Albion's home fans, and I've been to this ground plenty of times, and even in the Championship, they get very good numbers. It's never below 20,000 really, is it? So West Bromwich Albion are going to go in elite. They do make some good noise as well. There's a section quite near the away fans where they can sing quite loud sometimes. And yeah, I'm excited to go to West Bromwich Albion versus Coventry in the second half of the season. Next up are Blackpool at Bloomfield Road. And it's funny, isn't it, with Blackpool, the journey they've been on. A few years ago, I remember at Bloomfield Road, there were such small crowds because of the problems at the club. But now they're back in the Championship and there's a bit more positivity at Blackpool. Their fans are actually quite good. And, okay, you compare them to some of the numbers in this division, you think, okay, it's not massive numbers, but the noise they make is actually quite good. So I'm going to put Blackpool in decent. Next up are Bristol City. I've been to Ashton Gate before, but it was a few years ago, and I think they've redeveloped the ground since then. So I'm excited to go back there this season. And I look at Bristol City, and I think they've got a pretty decent fan base. Even when they're not doing that great, they'll take good numbers on the road. And I think at home, they've always been pretty good. So let's put Bristol City's home fans in very good. Next up are Huddersfield Town, and this is one of those rare grounds that I've not been to in this division yet, and I'm excited to go in December. What I've heard is they're actually quite good. It's a nice stadium by the looks of it. I am excited to go, but I think Huddersfield do make some good noise at times, and they can get some good numbers at times. It can vary, I think. So I'll put Huddersfield. I'll be nice. I'll put Huddersfield in very good. Next up are Cardiff City, and they can make some decent noise as well. I'll be going to this one on Boxing Day. Once again, it can vary. If they're doing well, they'll have some really good home fans and some good noise. If they're not doing so well, then it obviously drops. So I think I'll put them slap bang in the middle. If there's any Cardiff fans watching, what do you think? But I'm definitely excited to come to that ground on Boxing Day. Next up are Coventry City, and if we did this video a couple of years ago when Coventry were in League One and League Two, when there was that negativity going around and we were getting crowds of 10,000 or less, I'd say a bit further down this tier list. But this season, if we're basing it on this season, then Coventry for me have to go in elite. We're currently in the top 5 for average home crowds this season, which is simply sensational. We're at least getting 20,000 for every home game, which is mental. And obviously that's giving us a big boost on the pitch, the fans getting behind us, and I think the atmosphere as well is sensational. And it's good to see so many fans crammed into Singer's Corner, and it's good to see fans behind the goal. It's just sensational at the CBS at the moment, and I honestly think Coventry's home fans are elite this season. Next up are Luton Town, a team I've got a lot of time for, and if we were to go on numbers, I'd have to put them in poor or meh because they don't get that many. But then you have to take into account it's a small ground, and in the future they will have a bigger ground. It'll be interesting to see how many numbers they get there. If we're putting it down to atmosphere as well, then Luton probably climb a couple of places. So yeah, Luton aren't a bad one. I think they're quite good on the road. At home, I'll say they're decent. Next then are Middlesbrough, and their home fans are pretty good. They're quite good on the road as well. Middlesbrough just have a very solid, reliable fan base, and it's fantastic. Like I say, a lot of the North East teams do. So Middlesbrough, yeah, good home crowd, good numbers, good atmosphere. Let's put them in very good. Next up are Millwall, and this season is the first season I got to go to the Den, and I was a little bit underwhelmed by the home crowd and the atmosphere. It was built up to be this big scary away day that there's always a lot of trouble, they make a lot of noise, and they weren't bad. I'd say they're probably middle of the range for Championship home fans, but yeah, it just wasn't what it was built up to be. I still think they're quite good. They did make a bit of noise, so what are we going to do with Millwall? I'll put them in decent. I think they're the kind of club when a big game rolls around, they'll really turn up and make some good noise. The next one, Nottingham Forest, and I think I have to go for elite. Once again, home and away, fantastic support, and they'll always make a lot of noise, even when they're not doing that well in the league. The Forest fans are loyal, they'll stay behind their team, they'll make some noise, and they'll try and roar them on to the 3 points. So Forest, for me, their home fans are elite. The next one, Preston North End at Deepdale. It's a tricky one, this. It's a very tricky one. I went to this ground in League One and I was a little bit disappointed, but now they're in the Championship, maybe it's a little bit better. I haven't been to their ground since they've been in the Championship. So, based on what I've seen, I might go for meh. But if there's any Preston fans watching, let me know what you think. The next set of home fans we're going to be looking at are the ones from Loftus Road, QPR's fans, and I think they're okay. I think they're probably middle of the range for home fans in the Championship. They usually get good home fans and a good atmosphere, so what I'll do with QPR is I'll stick them in decent. The next team is Stoke City. Their home fans are very good. I've said before their away fans are very good as well, so I will put them in very good. I'm excited to go away to Stoke at the end of the season. That's going to be a good one, Stoke versus Coventry. Any Stoke fans watching, would you put yourselves in elite? Next up are AFC Bournemouth, and a bit like Luton, it's not a massive ground, so they can only sell what there is. But in terms of atmosphere, it's not bad. It's not the worst in the league. It's just there's a few bigger, isn't there? So I'm going to put AFC Bournemouth in meh. Next up, you've got Derby County, and I'm going to have to stick them in elite as well. Once again, Derby County, very good fans at home, very good fans on the road. They do usually get good numbers at home. I swear it's always in the 20s, isn't it? The 20,000. So yeah, very good home support. They have got a loyal fan base like Forest, so they're going to go in elite for me. Next up are Fulham, and this is a controversial one for me because I love Craven Cottage. I really am excited to go away to Fulham towards the end of the season. And I think Fulham's fans aren't bad, but I don't know if they're on a level with some of these in this division. And one of the things I really can't stand in football are those clapper things that they use. I don't know what they are, but I just think it's a little bit tin pot. I don't know if you disagree. Let me know down below. But for that, I'm actually going to be a bit harsh to Fulham. I'll put them in meh. They don't strike me as a team that would make much noise, have much of an atmosphere, so yeah, a little bit underwhelming from Fulham. And the last team is Swansea City. I'm going to put them in decent. The Liberty is not a massive ground. I think it only holds about 20,000, but they do usually get good numbers. They will make a bit of atmosphere. And yeah, it's not a bad little ground. It's not a bad home fan base. It's quite an enjoyable away day, to be honest. So then, guys, that wraps up today's video. Let me know what you think of this tier list down below. If you disagree, let me know down in the comments. If you agree, make sure you've left a like on this one. Subscribed if you are new around here, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace out.